Ni hao. Last week I attempted a full marathon time trial. That evening the weather was incredibly hot. It was about 28 degrees Celsius and at the same time the humidity was 80%. I had never run in these circumstances before and therefore I thought that maybe it would be somewhat okay. Now I know that these circumstances were definitely not the most favorable to run in, especially for such a long distance as a marathon. So I'm preparing for the marathon. I don't really have that much of an idea of what I'm doing, but I just have the 2 bottles of Pocari Sweat and 2 gels ready for running. It's just rained a whole lot, so there's a lot of moisture in the air. It's still quite warm. So we'll just see how it goes. Let's first discuss how the race went before I go into the things that I learned from this race. The first 5k went by pretty easily and I kept running 4 minutes 40 kilometers without too much effort. After some time I met a Taiwanese runner and I found out that he was actually an incredible runner who was capable of running a 2:30 marathon. And we talked quite a bit and he actually could not believe that I was going to run a marathon right then and there, even though I told him about 4 or 5 times. He thought I was joking. But then at the end he ran a bit with me until about 15 kilometers. His name was Verhoef. Up until this 15th kilometer things went relatively smoothly, although I could definitely feel the heat. I was still running the intended pace, but then at the 15th kilometer Verhoef was done with his run, so I was all out on my own. At the same time my right foot, both feet actually started to get really soggy and my right foot started to slip a bit on each step. I started to slow down. From the 15th to the 25th kilometer things were still okay, although I had definitely started to slow down. I ran about 5 minutes per kilometer maybe at this point, maybe even a bit slower. Once I got to the 30th kilometer I could really start to feel it. I started slowing down even more and I could sense that I was getting a bit dehydrated. So the 30th kilometer, the 31st kilometer, the 32nd kilometer, they all felt incredibly slow. It felt like it took so much longer than it actually did. A few kilometers later I actually ran out of water. This was the 35th kilometer and then I stopped. It was a pretty brutal marathon time trial. I can still walk, but I'm having a little bit of trouble now. Just dehydrated in general. It's incredibly humid today, so I just didn't prepare well and I learned quite a lot of things because of this marathon. I knew this was the right decision at the time, especially because there was not an easy way to get more water quickly if I needed it. I didn't have any money with me to buy like electrolyte drink and my vision was also starting to get a little bit blurry at the time and I still had 6 kilometers to go. So it was definitely the right decision. Now let's move on to the things I learned from the marathon, and for that we'll go for a little walk. So the first thing I learned, very simple, don't run when it's hot and there is a very high humidity. Super high humidity like this causes not only like your shoes to get super soggy and your clothes to get drenched, making it harder for you to run, but it also makes it harder to get in enough water. Even though I was drinking a lot of water and electrolyte drinks, I was still getting very dehydrated. The final thing is basically like, if you just run in this kind of weather, then you will be wasting so much energy on trying to cool down your body that you cannot run at the intended pace at all. The second point is actually a positive point, and that's that I kind of went a little bit further than I normally do when running in terms of like effort, and also especially distance. It's my farthest run ever and it actually went quite well, and from that I can see that I can probably do a lot more training than I've already been doing. So there's so much more potential to run faster, run further. The third lesson I learned is that I should definitely practice the nutrition beforehand. This time I did not practice it at all and just went into it with like 3 bottles of electrolyte drink and 2 gels, hoping that it would somehow work out. I could handle the nutrition very well, it's just that I didn't have enough. So if I had practiced during kind of similar circumstances, I would have known that I would probably need a bit more than 3 liters. Of course, I could have just looked it up. So that's it, prepare better beforehand. Final lesson is that you should not eat too much, even if you eat quite a long time in advance. I ate 6 hours in advance, a relatively big meal, but I think it just was way too much because I had just stomach discomfort because of all the food that was in it. And I also got some stitches during the run. Nothing too serious, I could still keep on running, but it would have gone so much smoother if I had just eaten a little bit less. So next time I will definitely have to prepare eating the right amount, and definitely not too much. You just should kind of see how much can I handle, how much food can I process within this time frame. So these are the 4 things I learned from my failed marathon. Running during 28 degrees Celsius with 80% humidity is probably not optimal, especially for a marathon time trial. 2, I can probably train way more than I have been doing for the past years. 3, I should definitely practice my nutrition beforehand with similar conditions. And finally, I should make sure that I don't overeat before the race. I hope this was helpful for you and you can use this in maybe your own training or with somebody else to see if it applies to them.